Right, let's get straight into it. Welcome to the definitive masterclass for Cambridge AS and A-Level Accounting 9706. I'm your master coach for today, and we are unpacking one of the most deceptively simple yet consistently mismanaged topics in the entire syllabus, the books of prime entry. We're talking the whole shebang: the sales journal, purchases journal, returns journals, the cash book, and, of course, the general journal. Now listen to me, mastering books of prime entry is absolutely critical. Why? Because this topic, in some shape or form, is going to ambush you in literally every single Cambridge examination series. It is the absolute bedrock of your financial accounting knowledge. Think about it like the foundation of a skyscraper. If your foundation here is cracked, your entire ledger system collapses, your trial balance fails, and your final financial statements, well, they just become a work of fiction. Today, we are not just going to casually review basic debits and credits like you're in your first week of class. No way. We are looking at this strictly through the examiner's lens. We're going to dissect exactly how top-tier students extract maximum marks from those really complex, high-tariff questions, the ones worth 9 to 15 marks that absolutely make or break your final grade. So lock in, because we're about to change how you approach this entire paper.
Here's the strategic roadmap for today's masterclass. We'll be moving rapidly through 6 critical phases: decoding the examiner's lens, establishing the theoretical architecture, mastering technical methodology, exposing top examiner traps, elevating your critical analysis, and finally, executing a winning exam strategy.
Section 1, the examiner's lens. Let's transition right into our first segment and decode the examiner's mindset.
Okay, before you even look at a single number in a Cambridge exam, you must, and I mean must, look at the command words. Let's do a quick anatomy of a command word. There is a massive, fundamental difference between being asked to analyze a prime entry system versus evaluate it. Explain gets you mid-tier marks, but to what extent demands a completely different cognitive strategy. For example, evaluating the use of the general journal demands much more than just explaining what it does. This brings up the ultimate question raised by senior examiners year after year. Why do students find multi-stage analysis and method marks so incredibly hard? Well, I'll tell you. The absolute biggest misconception in Accounting 9706 is that it's just a math test. It is not a math test. It is a process and communication test. When a complex transaction drops on your desk, say a credit purchase with a trade discount, followed by a return of damaged goods, followed by a final settlement involving a cash discount, so many students just rush to the final number. They frantically punch it into their calculator and throw a single number onto the page. But here's the trap. If that final number is wrong due to one simple arithmetic slip, you lose everything. 0 marks. Method marks are your safety net. Examiners explicitly design their marking schemes to reward the correct procedural steps. They want to see you identifying the correct book of prime entry. They want to see you applying that trade discount before entry into the purchases journal. Process matters just as much as the final answer. That is how you secure those assessment objective 1 and 2 marks, even if your calculator betrays you.
Section 2, theoretical architecture. Let's shift our focus to the theoretical foundations that anchor these multi-stage problems.
When faced with a data-heavy prompt about setting up a new accounting system, average candidates do what they always do. They rush to list facts. They define the sales journal. They define the cash book. And they treat the whole thing purely factually. But top-tier students, they do something completely different. I want you to picture 2 of my top scholars in a digital study suite right now. Let's call them Alex and Sam. They're working on the exact same high-tariff question. Alex is highly technical. Alex excels at formulas and facts and immediately pushes for a purely factual layout. Just list the journals, Alex says. Sam, on the other hand, is the creative thinker. Sam is strong in arguments and wants to focus on a broader conceptual perspective about business efficiency. So they start debating. Alex says, we need to secure the AO1 knowledge marks, and Sam argues, no, the AO3 evaluation marks are where the A star is. Who's right? They both are, but only if they bridge the gap. Look at this critical insight from the principal examiner reports. Candidates referencing cross-topic connections achieve significantly higher marks. Books of prime entry do not exist in a vacuum. If you, like Alex and Sam, are analyzing the sales journal, you absolutely must connect it to the sales ledger control account. You have to explicitly state that the periodic total is posted to the debit side of the sales ledger control account in the general ledger, while the individual entries are posted to the subsidiary sales ledger. That specific cross-topic connection, visually showing the examiner the flow of data from the original document to the prime entry to the ledger, that is the theoretical architecture that unlocks application marks and pushes your essay into the highest marking bands.
So, let's break down the 5 core principles of this theoretical architecture that you need to build a top-tier response. First up, precise definitions.
You have to know that a trade discount is strictly deducted before recording anything in the sales or purchases journal, whereas a cash discount is recorded in the cash book at the exact time of payment. Second, causal relationships. You need to show the domino effect. If an invoice is undercast in the sales journal, what is the causal effect? Boom! Sales revenue is understated, profit is understated, and trade receivables are understated. Third, integration with other syllabus areas. You've got to link this back to control accounts and the correction of errors. It's all one big ecosystem. Fourth, systematic analysis. This means flawlessly following the chronological path of a transaction from the physical source document straight to the prime entry book. And fifth, evidence-based reasoning. When you are arguing that a 3-column cash book is efficient, you can't just say it's faster. You have to provide the evidence. It acts as both a book of prime entry and a ledger account, completely eliminating duplication of work. These 5 pillars are your ultimate shield against those generic, low-scoring answers.
Section 3. Technical methodology. Let's pivot to the specific procedural frameworks you need to actually write this out on the page. Imagine a scenario where a business owner has completely mixed up contra entries and returns. Let's say a business returned $500 of goods to a supplier and later settled the remaining $1,000 balance by check, receiving a 5% cash discount. Now let's jump back to our scholars, Alex and Sam. They are actively drafting a model response to this on screen, paragraph by paragraph. And right here, they hit a massive roadblock. They are arguing about timing and how to link the paragraphs, and they just start writing naked amounts into the journal without context. This is exactly where students bleed points. Okay, pause the session, I'm stepping in here. To get unstuck and secure full method marks, we are going to apply a strict 4-step methodology. Step 1, proper headings. You don't just draw a random grid on the page. It must be titled clearly, like Purchases Returns Journal for the month ended. Step 2, correct terminology. We never use slang like money back. We use the professional term discount received. Step 3, appropriate formats. A 3-column cash book must clearly and rigidly delineate discount allowed, cash, and bank on the debit side, and discount received, cash, and bank on the credit side. Step 4, clear annotation. When making a contra entry, you absolutely must annotate it with a C in the folio column on both sides. Look at how Alex and Sam are rewriting their flawed section out loud right now using these steps. It goes from a messy, mediocre answer to a flawless, full-mark professional accounting record. Treat your exam paper as an actual professional document you are presenting to a high-paying client. Oh, and real quick, before we dive into the hardest part of this paper, the examiner's traps, I want you to pause and hit that subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE and L levels at the handle @AceTheExam_IGCE. Make sure you enable all notifications right now. Hit that bell so you literally never miss a weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategy like the ones we're covering today. Okay, let's keep pushing.
Section 4. Top 3 Examiner Traps. Pay close attention, because this is the exact segment where even the smartest candidates completely derail and lose points.
These are the top 3 explicit examiner warnings pulled directly from past principal examiner reports. I want you to treat this like an interactive pause and practice workshop. Imagine a complex data chart on your screen right now with a 60-second countdown timer. Trap 1 is using the wrong approach for the context. For instance, imagine the data shows the purchase of a delivery van, a non-current asset, on credit. So many students just shove that into the purchases journal. No, the purchases journal is exclusively for goods intended for resale. A non-current asset bought on credit must go straight into the general journal. Trap 2, forgetting to check format and presentation. This means overlooking the chronological order of dates or doing all the hard math but utterly failing to balance the cash book properly and bring down the balances at the end of the month. It's a tragedy when that happens. Trap 3, providing answers not specific to the context given. If the visual source data clearly states the business is a small, family-owned retail shop, and you write a massive evaluation answer about complex manufacturing ledgers, you score 0 for application. You must rigidly tailor your theory to their specific scenario.
All right, let's do our second pause and practice exercise. Let's play Spot the Flaw. Look at the text comparison here. On the left, we have a poorly written student answer. Let's see if you can spot the errors. The flawed generic approach says, the general journal is used for things that don't fit elsewhere, it has debit and credit columns and corrects errors. Can you see why an examiner would give that almost no marks? It is completely disconnected from any scenario. It uses weak, unprofessional terminology like things that don't fit, and it entirely lacks analytical depth. Now contrast that with the elite, top-scoring approach on the right, which is linked to a specific given scenario about a business called Zenith Traders. A flawlessly written answer reads, for Zenith Traders, the general journal is essential for non-routine transactions. Specifically, the irrecoverable debt of $400 owed by customer J. Smith must be recorded here by debiting irrecoverable debts and crediting J. Smith's account in the sales ledger.
This ensures the year-end trade receivables figure accurately reflects realizable value, maintaining the prudence concept. Do you see the difference? The top-scoring approach names the business. It names the specific customer. It provides the exact double entry, and crucially, it links the whole thing back to a fundamental underlying accounting concept, prudence. That is exactly how you bypass the generic trap and force the examiner to give you top marks.
Section 5. Mastering critical analysis. We are moving into the evaluation phase now. It's not just about knowing what the books of prime entry are, it is about critically evaluating their effectiveness within a specific organizational structure. Okay, imagine a company with 5,000 daily transactions that currently relies on one single general journal for absolutely everything, instead of using specialized daybooks. Your task in the exam is to evaluate this specific setup. To crack this, you have to outline 3 evaluative thinking behaviors that literally separate passing grades from perfect A-star scores. Step 1. Question assumptions. Don't just automatically assume a single journal is simpler. You have to ask, practically, how long does it actually take to post 5,000 individual entries to the ledger one by one? Step 2. Consider different perspectives. You need to look at it from multiple angles. From the perspective of a junior clerk, specialized books allow for a division of labor. One person handles sales and other handles purchases, right? But then, switch gears to an auditor's perspective. Having a solid control account system linked to those distinct daybooks provides significantly better internal security and fraud prevention. Step 3. Justify decisions with evidence. You can't just leave the argument hanging. You might conclude that the company absolutely must adopt specialized books of prime entry, but you justify it with the hard evidence that it allows for batch posting of totals, which drastically reduces posting errors and saves massive amounts of administrative time.
Now, let's get into the actual mechanics of comparative analysis, which is required for those high-tariff evaluation questions. When you are asked to compare the sales journal and the cash book, comparative analysis strictly requires identifying similarities and differences. So you start by noting that both are books of prime entry. But the difference is the sales journal records credit transactions while the cash book records immediate liquid settlements. The real secret to scoring the AO3 marks here is using comparative connectives. I'm talking about words like whereas, conversely, in contrast, and nevertheless. Listen to how professional this sounds. The Purchases Returns Journal is utilized to record goods sent back to suppliers, whereas the Sales Returns Journal records goods returned by customers. Nevertheless, both serve the crucial function of maintaining accurate inventory valuation. See how those connectives bridge the concepts? Finally, you must draw conclusions on relative importance. At the end of your paragraph, you must explicitly state which factor or book holds more weight in the context of the specific business given and exactly why.
Section 6. Winning Exam Strategy. Let's synthesize this entire methodology into a rapid, highly actionable blueprint for your exam day execution.
To execute this successfully under intense time pressure, we are going to rely on 3 core, memorable pillars. Let's call them the 3-step question scan, the paragraph balance formula, and the last 5 minutes review checklist. We map these directly to the 5 steps you see here for tackling any books of prime entry question. Step 1 and 2 make up your 3-step question scan. Deconstruct the question by underlining the command word and the hidden constraints, then extract the exact figures, names, and context from the stimulus material. Step 3 and 4 are your paragraph balance formula. Select the correct framework, meaning, is it a credit sale, a cash receipt, or a complex journal adjustment, and then execute the notation using proper headings, dates, and terminology. Finally, step 5 is your last 5 minutes review checklist. Verify your results. Did you cast the totals correctly? Did you transfer the total to the correct side of the ledger? Did you remember that a discount allowed in the cash book is actually an expense and must go to the debit side of the ledger? Verify, verify, verify. This is how you lock in those final marks.
So, I leave you with this provocative challenge. Will you walk into that exam hall relying on generic, memorized textbook answers? Or will you use visual story methods to encode these complex concepts and secure every single one of those method marks? A brilliant memory hack is to visualize the flow of documents just like a story. The invoice is the invitation, the book of prime entry is the guest list, and the general ledger is the final party. If you can see the story, you won't forget the steps. Remember, crushing Cambridge exams doesn't happen by accident. It requires consistent, relentless strategy, moving way past generic facts into deep, structured evaluation. If you want more elite strategies just like this, you need to hit that subscribe button right now for Ace the Exam's IGCSE O&A levels at acetheexam_IGCSE. Turn on that notification bell so you never miss an exam hack, and do me a favor, drop a comment below right now with your exact target grade. Put it out there. Commit to it.
Keep analyzing, keep evaluating, and keep aiming for absolute excellence. I'll see you in the next masterclass.